Welcome to a special edition of the S&P 500 analysis. Today is January 24, 2022. Today, the market sold off in the morning and then it made a 200-point turnaround. At one point, the Dow Jones Industrial Index was down over 1,000 points. So did we see a capitulation today? In this special edition, we will analyze the S&P 500 cash index, the SPY the S&P 500 ETF, and the ES, the E-mini S&P 500 futures, and the internals along with the stock market sentiment to see where is the S&P 500 might be headed in the coming days. Stay tuned. All right, let's take a look at the ES, the overnight session, and then leading on to the regular trading hour, the RTH session here. You can see when the Asian market opened on Sunday, we see that the price came up and got back into this prior value area here, the Friday value area, and kind of hover above the value area low. Then when the European market opened, and that would be somewhere around 1 a.m. in Pacific time, as you can see that the Asian market kind of got a little bit long here, and the European market, when it opened, is starting to liquidate. You know, basically sold off and spook these long and shake them out. And you can see that it is just continuously being sold off. And then when the pre-market opened up on the East Coast in the U.S., and that's about, you know, the 4 a.m. in on Pacific time, and you can see that the selling just accelerated. And you can see that it came down to this level here near the 4310 area. And that is one of the naked point of control on the market profile. Then we saw that open up a little bit above the overnight low, but it's out of range. So it's basically open out of range, and then kind of chop around and took out the overnight low and then work itself down to this overnight Asian session value area low. And as you can see, it just, the point of control, and as you can see, it just took it down during the morning into the noon hour, and we saw massive selling, and this is basically more of the capitulation. Then we saw in the afternoon buyers step back in and start bidding it back up. And here where we see this massive rally, and then got some profit taking, came down, and then another leg up, and basically pushes up doing the into the OPEX, the Monday OPEX. So that's basically what happened here on the ES. And let me switch over to the volume profile, some of the stat, and then we could take a closer look on that. And here are some of the volume profile stat from the level. Let me turn off this overnight session, and then we could just focus on the RTH, the regular hour session. Here you see that right here it opened a gap down based on last Friday's settle, and it chopped around at this overnight low. This bluish or aqua dash line is the overnight low, and this right here is the overnight high. So it kind of chopped around here and gave up and came down to some of these prior value area high and value area low. Then it pushes back up and retests the overnight low, and unable to stay above that. And you see this selling just continue afterward, and it took it all the way down to this level here, somewhere around this 4220 here. Right? And we did see a little bit of a cutoff, seller cutoff. And now that the buyer basically have to bid up the price to find seller, and we did see a little bit of acceptance here, because you see the volume kind of pick up at this price level, and then as it continue to move up, we see more and more volume came in. So there's a little bit more acceptance at this area here. You can see this high volume zone here, and then kind of chop around here. Test the developing VWAP a couple of times before it pushes above this zone here and stay above the value area low, the overnight low, and then pushes through this developing value area high, and also took out the IP high. because once it got into this IB low, this IB range here, this dashed line here is the IB low, and this is the IB high. That's basically represent the first hour high and low range. Okay, so those are the level, and then once it took out the IB high, then it just pushes up and fill this gap. And when it fill this gap, it's basically trying to get it back up to this value area here from the the Friday's value area. So we also see some some volume picking up here. So we are seeing some price acceptance up here, although this is a poor high. So what we expect is for price to come up and take out this poor high to finish up the auction. So I wouldn't be surprised tomorrow that we will see some prices into this range here, basically getting back into this area here, because this is the Friday's range, the value area. So I wouldn't be surprised to see prices come up, or maybe just peak up here, take out this low volume no, and then come back down, and maybe possibly come back and take out test this naked point of control here, today's point of control, the POC, and maybe chop around here and then see, because there is this single print area, and it's depicted here by a low volume zone. So we're going to take a look at the market profile and see the market profile and how these prices established for some of the potential target for tomorrow or for the coming day. Now here's the market profile for the ES, the E-mini S&P 500. Remember from the weekend video, we're talking about these 3-point control. Essentially, we were looking for these to get tagged on the downside if it decides to move down. And what it did is, it came down because when it opened, it actually opened near this point of control. So it came down, took out some of the single print here, and also the July point of control, naked point of control, and then pushes back up. Then as it pushes back up during the afternoon, it tagged these 2 point of control and also filled the gap here. So right now we essentially are looking to see would it come up here and test this point of control tomorrow at this 44.3775. This is the last week's Friday's point of control. And also the other thing is today we saw some single print here. Let me zoom this in for you, and then we could take a better look at it. So as you can see, we do see some single print here tomorrow. The single print could get filled on the way down, because we also have a poor high here. Remember, it's also we saw a poor high on the volume profile as well as on this market profile. So we could see a little bit of a push up. Maybe it will come up, tag this point of control, and then push us back down and fill this the single print, and then come back in and possibly test this point of control here, because this point of control will get taken out. All right, these 3 point of control instead will put in these these single print level here. So we'll see, would it be able to hold above this low? And if it doesn't hold above this today's low, then we're essentially looking for a lot of these single print down here to get resolved. And also there's a poor low down here as well. Here we are looking at a intraday chart on a 3-minute interval of the cash index of the S&P 500. And also here's the new high, new low, and the up-down volume ratio, and the VIX or the fear index, and the put-call ratio, and also the daily advanced decline. As you can see, the S&P 500 open gap down, and it worked itself all the way down to the low, 42.2352. And that's about 9:15 Pacific time, which is 12:15 New York time. And also you can see that the up-down volume ratio, right here at this point here, notice that it is 16.5 to 1 in favor of the down volume. So that is obviously a massive number, heavy sell-off, right? So essentially for every 100 share being bought, there's 1,650 share being sold. That's basically what this ratio, implying. Okay? And also you look at the VIX here, you got this spike up, right? And it's sitting here at 38.93 here, close to 39. Looking at the put-call ratio, the put-call ratio here is 1.128. So there are more put being bought then call now. And once we get over, greater than 1, that means there's more put is being purchased than call is being purchased. Okay, and also looking at the advanced decline, when shortly after the open, there's 2,779 more declining issue than the advancing issue. Now, in the New York Stock Exchange, there's just a little bit over 3,000 stock being traded. Okay, so if you subtract 3,000 from 79 or basically 2780, you're talking about 220 stock split between the advanced decline, right? So if we divide that by half, assuming there's no unchanged stock, so you're talking about just a little bit over 100 stock actually advance in price, and the remainder of that 3,000 is basically declining in price. And that is how bad it was at this point in time this morning, somewhere around 7:18, 7:15, essentially it's 10:15 New York time. But again, as the afternoon progresses, after the 9:30 or the noon hour, we see kind of stabilize, and you see the S&P 500 kind of made a little bit of a bottom here, kind of stabilize with a low base, and then start to work itself higher. The advanced decline start to improve, and also the put call ratio start coming down from the 1.1 level, and also the VIX is also start coming back down, although it did not get below 30 until near the close. But again, you also look at the up-down volume ratio. The up-down volume ratio was 16.5 to 1 and ended up the day 1.19 or 1.2 to 1 in favor of the down volume. So that's quite an improvement. And the New York Stock Exchange new high, new low did not improve. It's basically sitting pretty much 795 more stock making new 52-week low than 52-week high. So that is pretty weak for the market. But we did see a rally into the close because it is OPEX, and also we got some capitulation here from the weak hand, and basically the smart money came back in and start picking up some cheap share, right? Because right now we basically looking at this as a capitulation, and we could see some more downside. So let's go and take a look at the SPY, the S&P 500 ETF. Now here looking at the SPY, the ETF for the S&P 500. Here I got the 5-minute chart of the SPY, and also the daily volume profile here. As you can see today, the volume profile, we got a little bit of a cutoff here at the bottom, right? So that means we basically have a seller cutoff, and for any buyers that want to buy, they basically have to bid up the price, because all the sellers that want willing to sell down here is basically have been exhausted, and there's no willing seller any lower than this level here. So we see that price start to firm up, and there's still some willing seller here. Until those were exhausted, then buyer have to bid it up to push it up. And you can see that it kind of chop around at developing point control today. It pushed up to the developing value area high before it came back down and retest today's developed point control, and then push up and fill this gap here. All right, you see that there is a point of control, a naked point of control from Friday that got tagged. And there's also a couple point of control. Let me switch over to the 60-minute chart. Then we can see those longer range point of control that came out. Let me switch this periodic profile so we can see that. And let me take this out first. Okay, so you can see that there is this point of control and this point of control, this virgin point of control that got taken out on the way back up during the into the close in the afternoon. This is a last 30-minute candle for the day on the SPY here. So you can see that it came up, and again it established some volume here. So there is some acceptance in this area, and you could see that there was some acceptance on Friday there, right? Some volume, high volume no here. So right now we essentially are looking at the possibilities to see would it be able to come up tomorrow. There is this low volume zone here that we identified earlier on the composite. Let me put that composite back on. So here we see the composite, right? There's this low volume zone here, and we're essentially looking for the possibility to come up and see would it get rejected and push it back down to this low volume zone here, and possibly chop around and move itself back down to tag today's point of control here. So we're essentially looking for a little bit of a push up and then encounter some resistance, get rejected on the upside and pushes back to retest some of the level down here. And switching over back to the 3-minute chart here. So what we essentially are looking for is the possibility to come up here and get rejected, chop around, and then pushes down to this point of control and see would it find some balance and then push back up, or it just chop around and then start pushing down and retest this low. If it take out this low, today's low, then we could be headed lower. All right, so right now we essentially are looking at this range here somewhere around this 420. Basically looking at this area here, this value area low to this value area high here. And here's the daily chart of the SPY. I see this reversal candle here. I got a nice tail here. So basically after the capitulation, kind of the market built it back up, and now it has closed its gap here. Okay, remember that gap we were talking about on the downside? We were looking for to fill this gap on the downside, but today actually, because of the gap down open, it actually came up and filled it on the way back up. So that's what we're looking at right now. Again, we're basically looking at this zone here. Right? If it failed, then we're basically looking to see what it stay above today's low, somewhere around that 420. If it's not, then we're essentially looking at this prices down here, somewhere around the 405 level. So be sure to smash the thumbs up, help me promote and share this video. Thank you for watching and good luck.